Good day, Crime Talk aficionados. It is Thursday, October 9th, and we have a great show for you today. First, the employee who leaked footage of Bryan Kohberger in his cell, well, he's been identified. Letitia James get a bit of her own medicine with a fraud indictment. Federal prosecutors respond to the social media posts in the Mangione case. A judge evaluates the admissibility of an Amish teen's confession in a homicide case. The final escapee from New Orleans, well, he's finally captured after 5 months. A genius sets fire to the world. Another drunken airline debacle. Shocker. A sheriff racks up his third DUI after driving at 110 miles an hour and with the lights on. We have this day in legal history, our quote of the day, and our dumb criminal. Let's talk about it.
All right, lawyer.
Good day, everyone. My name is Scott Reich, and this is Crime Talk. Thanks for joining us. You know the drill. Subscribe if you haven't. Like if you do. Leave me a comment below. Hit that little bell for notifications, and you can check us out on any of your favorite podcasting apps. Before we get to the docket, you also know we're going to remind you to go to crimetalksearch.com. Listen, if you want to check somebody out here in the United States, go here. Sign up for the subscription. You're going to find out everything and more of what you wanted to know about somebody that you're searching. And here's the thing. While you have this subscription, you can do as many searches as you desire, and you can cancel at any time. Go to crimetalksearch.com. You're going to be happy that you did. Remember, also hit the link below. Check out some of the Crime Talk merchandise, as well as some of the other swag that we got going there for you. All right, let's go ahead and get to the docket for October 9th. And first on the docket, Bryan Kohberger. That's right. The person who was filming him in his cell has been identified, and heaven forbid we infringe upon the sacred privacy of Bryan Kohberger, the poor soul serving 4 consecutive life sentences for brutally murdering 4 University of Idaho students. And in a shocking twist, the Boise's finest at the Idaho State Police have identified the rogue person who dared to film this paragon of virtue in his cozy solitary confinement cell in J Block, where naturally only the most distinguished guests like death row inmates reside. But alas, this dastardly culprit will face no criminal charges. Why, you ask? Because apparently capturing Kohberger's charming prison life on video doesn't quite qualify as a crime. Kohberger, ever the victim, whined to prison officials about his fellow inmates torturing him. How dare they disturb his peaceful existence? So, after his transfer to the maximum security medical wing, because nothing screams spa retreat like a prison hospital, and then to his exclusive J Block suite, someone had the audacity to leak authentic security footage of him to the internet. The Idaho Department of Corrections was positively outraged, vowing to hunt down this villain and threaten them with gasp termination, or maybe even criminal prosecution. But big plot twist, the employee, clearly trembling in their boots, quit before the Idaho Department of Corrections could finish their grand investigation. And in a stunning display of legal gymnastics, it turns out filming a security feed while strictly against DOC's oh-so-sacred policies isn't actually illegal under state or federal law. Who knew? Anyway, the Idaho State Police, after a thorough squint at the law books, shrugged and said, not contraband, no crime. Now, DOC there in Idaho, ever the beacon of professionalism, issued a statement dripping with self-congratulations. They're thrilled to identify the policy-violating scoundrel who now conveniently left the agency. They assure us that they're committed to upholding the highest standards of conduct to protect the precious security of inmates like Kohberger. Meanwhile, Idaho law politely prevents them from spilling any juicy details about the employee who had the gall to share a glimpse of Kohberger's new reality show, Life in Lockup. So rest easy, folks. The sanctity of a convicted quadruple murderer's privacy remains intact, and the wheels of justice, or at least bureaucratic finger-wagging, will keep on turning. I know. What can you say? But at least Idaho feels better about it. We got to see Bryan Kohberger in his new little habitat, just like a little caged animal at the zoo. So I think this person's probably saying, worth it. Next on the docket. Oh, look, Letitia James gets a taste of her own medicine with a fraud indictment. Well, isn't that just delicious? New York Attorney General Letitia James, the self-proclaimed champion of sniffing out fraud, just got slapped with a fraud indictment herself by a federal grand jury in Alexandria, Virginia. Now, according to two little birds whispering to CNN, it seems the tables have turned on the woman who once had the audacity to go after President Donald Trump for allegedly overvaluing properties to snag some sweet loan deals. Oh, the irony is so thick you could spread it on toast. Apparently, Trump and James have been trading barbs for years, ever since she dragged him and his Trump organization into court over what she called shady financial moves. But now it's James in the hot seat, thanks to none other than the interim United States Attorney, Lindsay Halligan, who reportedly rolled up her sleeves and presented the case herself to the grand jury. Talk about a little bit of a plot twist. Sources say the grand jury's indictment stems from allegations that James improperly claimed a Virginia home as her primary residence to score some financial perks. My, how the mighty have fallen when they trip over their own rulebook. Word on the street is that prosecutor Elizabeth Yussie wasn't exactly jumping for joy over this case. She reportedly told her pals that there wasn't enough evidence to nail James and might even be shown the door for daring to say no to Halligan. Oops, looks like someone forgot to drink the get James at all cost Kool-Aid. And of course, Trump, never one to miss a chance to gloat, has been gleefully roasting James on social media, branding her a wacky crook. Subtle as a sledgehammer as always. Meanwhile, critics are clutching their pearls, crying that Trump's using the government to settle personal scores. Shocking, right? This is the same Trump who was ordered to cough up $355 million in penalties in his fraud case, only for an appeals court to toss it out in August, calling it excessive. And wait for it, unconstitutional. Political witch hunt. Trump bellowed during that trial, pointing fingers at James and calling her a political hack. Pot, meat, kettle. So we're going to watch how this one unfolds. Will James wiggle out of this one? Will Trump keep tweeting zingers? Grab your popcorn, folks. This one is going to be a wild, wild ride. Next on the docket, federal prosecutors respond to the Luigi Mangione social media posts. So, federal prosecutors submitted a formal response to a Manhattan federal court addressing concerns raised by the court regarding social media posts by two U.S. Justice Department officials. These posts involved the republication of statements made by President Donald Trump concerning Luigi Mangione, who faces charges for the assassination of United Healthcare CEO Bryan on December 4th of 2024. Now, in their submission, prosecutors asserted that the actions of the two officials did not compromise the prospects for a fair trial. They clarified that the individuals involved are not a part of the prosecution team, nor are they employed by the U.S. Attorney's Office for the Southern District of New York, or engaged in law enforcement duties related to this particular case. Now, the officials operate outside the scope of the investigation and the prosecutorial function of the Mangione matter and were unaware of the court's directive to exercise caution in public statements. Following the incident, both individuals were formally advised of the court's expectations. The prosecutors further noted that as no trial date has been established, the risk of these statements influencing potential jurors is minimal. They emphasized that the absence of any operational connection between the officials and the ongoing litigation. The issue arose after Judge Margaret Garnett in September indicated that the officials' actions likely violated the court's rules governing prosecutorial conduct. The posting questions involve a statement by President Trump on September 18th during a Fox News appearance where he described Mangione as a pure assassin who committed a deliberate act. A video clip of these remarks was shared on the social platform X by the White House and subsequently reposted by Chad Gilmartin, a Justice Department spokesperson, with an endorsement. Bryan, an associate deputy attorney general, then reposted Gilmartin's comments, which was later removed. Now, remember, Mangione has entered a not guilty plea to both the state and federal charges related to the federal shooting of Bryan Thompson outside a Manhattan hotel during an annual investor conference. Now, the federal charges include murder, through the use of a firearm, which carries a potential death penalty, as well as stalking and other gun-related offenses. Now, in September of this year, Mangione's defense team requested the dismissal of the federal charges and the removal of the death penalty as a potential outcome, citing prejudicial public statements by the U.S. Attorney General Pam Bondi. Bondi has previously described the killing as premeditated, cold-blooded, and an assassination. And in April of 2025, instructed federal prosecutors to pursue the capital punishment. The defense argued that the republication of Trump's comments further undermined Mangione's right to an impartial trial. The judge, Judge Garnett, had previously requested an explanation from the Justice Department regarding the circumstances of the violation and measures taken to prevent any future occurrences, which is code for the judge is going to say, don't do it again. Sounds like the problem's been solved, but let's make sure we get Luigi Mangione a fair trial, and then the federal government can decide if they want to impose the death penalty. Got to give him a fair trial and then impose the penalty. Remember that, ladies and gentlemen. You got to give him due process. It's an important thing. Next, the judge is evaluating the admissibility of an Amish teen's confession in a homicide case. So a judge is reviewing and trying to determine whether a confession from an 18-year-old Amish man charged with the rape and murder of a woman in their rural Ohio community should be admitted into evidence at the trial. The defense contends that the teenager did not fully comprehend his constitutional rights due to his limited education and language barriers. So Samuel Hochstetler faces charges of aggravated murder, rape, and kidnapping related to the death of 28-year-old Rosanna Kinsinger on March 12th of this year. Her body was discovered in her trailer near Rutland, Ohio. And during a recent hearing in Meigs County Common Pleas Court, Judge Michael Barr heard argument regarding the admissibility of Hochstetler's recorded confession. Now, the defense argument is that their client, who has an Amish background and primary use of Pennsylvania Dutch, hindered his understanding of his Miranda rights. The attorneys highlighted Hochstetler's limited formal schooling and cultural isolation, asserting that these factors impaired his ability to grasp the legal consequences of waiving his rights during questioning. So the confession was obtained in May when Hochstetler was brought to the sheriff's office for collection of some DNA. Initially denying any presence in Kinsinger's trailer, he later allegedly admitted to killing after being informed of his Miranda rights on 2 occasions. Now, in the recorded statement, Hochstetler described entering the trailer where Kinsinger went to her bedroom, lay down, and closed her eyes. He admitted to covering her head with a blanket. And when questioned about the alleged sexual assault, Hochstetler claimed unfamiliarity with the term sex, instead using breeding to describe the act. He maintained that Kinsinger did not resist, though prosecutors cite autopsy evidence suggesting the encounter was not consensual. Prosecutors and investigators, a guy by the name of James Stanley, argued that Hochstetler's demonstrated sufficient understanding of his rights, pointed to his ability to ask clarifying questions, and engaged in detailed discussions about Amish customs, including courtship practices. Stanley emphasized that Hochstetler's interactions with investigators showed comprehension and a voluntary waiver of his rights. Detective Sergeant Jason Dyer testified that Hochstetler appeared relieved after confessing, suggesting a desire to be truthful. Dyer noted that Hochstetler initially implicated another individual referred to as Homer before admitting his own involvement. Now, this case has obviously affected the small Amish community of approximately 10 families centered around a farm managed by Moses Troyer. Now, Kinsinger, who has relocated from Missouri to work as a teacher, was producing soap and other goat milk products at the time of her death. Hochstetler recently arrived from Kentucky, was employed at Troyer's sawmill, and Kinsinger's body was discovered by Troyer after community members noted her absence with her goat found nearby. So Hostetler has entered a not guilty plea on all charges, which include aggravated murder by strangulation, as well as kidnapping. A conviction for the aggravated murder could result in a life sentence without the possibility of parole. And the judge has yet to rule on the motion to suppress and has requested written closing arguments from both parties. The decision will significantly influence the prosecution's case, obviously, because if the confession provides critical details about the death of Miss Kinsinger. So that's going to be interesting. It's always interesting when you have a motion to suppress, and the issue is whether somebody was able to really understand and make a knowing voluntary waiver of one's rights. But unless you can really show, let's say somebody is, maybe below 70 on the IQ scale, it's going to be very, very tough. But I do remember a quote from a law professor, it always kind of stuck with me, is that the law protects the ignorant and punishes the stupid. So the question is this young Amish man ignorant, or is he just stupid? Stupid, guess what? The confession's coming in. Next on the docket, remember those escapees from New Orleans? Well, the last one got captured. Derek Groves, the last of 10 inmates who escaped from the New Orleans Parish Justice Center back on May 16th of this year, apprehended in Atlanta, Georgia, following a brief standoff with law enforcement. A collaborative operation involving multiple agencies, including the United States Marshals, the FBI, Homeland Security, Louisiana State Police, Orleans Parish Sheriff's Office, New Orleans Police Department, Atlanta Police Department, and Crime Stoppers. That resulted in the capture of the 28-year-old fugitive. Now, Groves, a convicted murderer serving a life sentence for a 2024 double homicide at a Mardi Gras block party, had been at large for 5 months. And the Orleans Parish District Attorney, Jason Williams, expressed relief at Groves' capture, noting the potential for violence given his criminal history. He said, "We are grateful for this dangerous individual was apprehended without loss of life." Williams stated he credited divine intervention and the great efforts of law enforcement. Now, investigations are ongoing to determine whether Groves received assistance during his time as a fugitive. You think? Though details of how he reached Atlanta were not disclosed. Maybe he had some assistance. You think? Anyway, the escapee has also led to the arrest of several individuals, including relatives and jail staff, suspected of aiding the escapees. Notably, Dariana Burton, a 28-year-old former Orleans Parish Sheriff's Office employee and alleged girlfriend of Groves, was arrested in June for reportedly facilitating communications between Groves and external contacts to orchestrate the escape. Now, the Orleans Parish Justice Center, where the escape occurred, was significantly understaffed at the time, operating with only 60% of the required personnel. 4 supervisors and 36 staff members were overseeing approximately 1,400 inmates, and most of the other escapees, many of whom faced charges for serious violent crimes, were recaptured within a week of the incident. Police to continue to investigate the circumstances surrounding the escape. So, obviously what's taking place here is that this individual, and I get this, Mr. Groves, he just wanted a little more freedom. He knows he's going away for the rest of his life. He just wanted a little more freedom. Had a guy once serving multiple life sentences, had a little bit of an incident with an escape case, and ultimately didn't bother because the facility didn't want to have the bad press and maybe lose their contract with the feds and all that stuff for housing inmates for the federal government. But really what it came down to was the guy just wanted a little more freedom before he died. Just a little bit. So Mr. Groves, wrong way to go about it, but we understand just a little bit. Totally wrong. Can't escape. Next, another genius sets fire to the world. Well, folks, it turns out the Palisade Fire, that charming little inferno that torched Los Angeles and claimed a dozen lives, wasn't Mother Nature throwing a tantrum over climate change, as the governor has said it was. No. It was Jonathan Rinderneck, A 29-year-old former Uber driver with a flair for the dramatic allegedly decided to play amateur arsonist because, nothing screams I'm having a bad day like setting a hillside ablaze. Now, police nabbed this mastermind near his Florida hideout, charging him with destruction of property by fire. So apparently, Mr. Rinderneck, fresh off his Uber shift, was feeling extra spicy on New Year's Day. He's accused of sparking the Lackman fire, which smoldered underground like a bad secret before roaring into the Palisade fire on January 7th, fueled by some conveniently timed winds. 12 people dead, homes reduced to ash, all because our pal Jonathan allegedly had a moment. Here's what we know. Rinderneck, post-Uber, reportedly cruising to Skull Rock Trailhead, agitated and angry, per his passengers, who probably regretted not tipping. He's jamming to a French rap song because nothing sets the mood for arson like a music video with things going up in flames. He snaps some scenic cell phone pics, takes a couple of videos around 11:47 p.m. with no fire in sight, and then poof, by 12:12 a.m., sensors pick up a blaze. Coincidence? Sure. And I'm the next Nobel laureate. Now, in a plot twist that would make many jealous, Rinderneck allegedly tried calling 911, but oops, no signal. He eventually got through, reported the fire like a concerned citizen, then followed fire trucks back to the scene to film the chaos. Multitasking at its finest. A single person's recklessness caused the worst fire Los Angeles has ever seen, said the acting United States attorney, probably wondering how one guy's bad decision could ruin so many lives. Well, the Los Angeles Fire Department's after action report is a real page-turner, admitting that they were caught with their pants down. They balanced fiscal responsibility, but got overwhelmed by the fire's ferocity, sent the wrong engines, and botched evacuation orders, leading to a traffic jam straight out of a disaster movie. Meanwhile, California Governor Gavin Newsom is out here hoping this arrest brings closure and promising a report to figure out this mess, how it happened. Spoiler, it was allegedly Jonathan. So, not global warming, just a guy with a phone, a grudge, and a questionable playlist. Stay classy, humanity. Next, another drunken airplane debacle. I know, are you shocked? Well. What do we have here? Another dazzling display of class and composure at 30,000 feet, courtesy of two New Jersey sisters who apparently thought Frontier Airlines was hosting an open bar tantrum contest. Kiera Lyons and Mara Flores decided to turn their Orlando to Jersey flight into a reality TV audition gone wrong on May 15th, and the body cam footage is the gift that keeps on giving. Check out this. Two sunburned, boozed-soaked sisters, allegedly too sloshed to behave, get the boot from their flight at the Orlando International Airport for causing a ruckus. According to the airline worker, who was left sprawled on the jet bridge floor like a prop in a bad sitcom, the dynamic duo didn't take kindly to being asked to leave. Now, the employee recounted to police that the short, skinny one, that's Lyons, shoved her first, followed by her bigger sister. Flores, who apparently couldn't resist joining the shoving match, and Lyons reportedly spiced things up with a charming F you and you fat bitch to the gate agent, who was saintly restraint, simply replied, "Thank you." Iconic. The sisters, naturally, had their own Oscar-worthy version of events. Lyons clutching her pearls and hyperventilating, claimed she was just minding her own business in the bathroom, battling anxiety and depression when a flight attendant dared to ask if she was drunk. She admitted to a few drinks. Things allegedly escalated when a male employee touched her chest, cued the dramatic reenactment where she shoves a cop to demonstrate. Meanwhile, Ms. Flores, a mother of two who clearly missed the memo on adulting, was outraged at the idea of her sister being handcuffed, proclaiming, "I'm calling my lawyer right now." Sure, Jan, like that's going to fix it. Lyons, by the way, is a former Division III field hockey star and gym trainer because nothing screams athlete like a mid-flight meltdown. She sobbed to the officers about missing her graduation walk, and if that's the real tragedy here, Flores, not to be outdone, demanded her cuffs be removed in the squad car because, and I quote, "I am not a criminal." The female officer responded, "A glorious save your energy to argue in court." If that's not a mic drop, I don't know what is. Both sisters were slapped with first-degree battery and second-degree disorderly conduct charges for their alleged gate agent shoving spree, with the employee sustaining minor injuries. By September 17th, their cases were closed and they were shuffled off to a pre-trial intervention program because nothing says rehabilitation like a slap on the wrist for turning an airport into a wrestling ring. So, are we tired of drunk people on planes? Nah. Why would we be? It's not like we're craving peaceful flights or anything. Just another day in the skies where common sense checks its bags and never makes it to the gate. And Frontier Airlines, I've said this before and I will say it again, in my opinion, is one of the worst airlines ever. And I don't want to sound like a snob because, yes, I do have CrimeTalk One and I love CrimeTalk One. And reinforcing my love of private air travel was when we recently traveled to Italy for my son's wedding. And even if you're in business class or economy plus, it's still unpleasant. And, even traveling to Italy, you got a little, it's a little expensive to fly there. But, if you fly Frontier or Spirit, all the worst airlines ever, the airlines have become the bus stations of the 80s. That's the way I look at it these days. Next on the docket, a sheriff racks up his third DUI after allegedly, drunk driving at 110 miles per hour. And let's turn the lights on as well. Throw in the siren as well. So look at this shining beacon of law enforcement. Robertson County Sheriff Terry Gray, clearly auditioning for the role of the most likely to fail a sobriety test, has nabbed his third DUI charge in a mere 2 years. This time, the 48-year-old decided to treat the Kentucky road like his personal racetrack, allegedly zooming along at a cool 110 miles per hour with lights flashing and sirens wailing because, what says I'm sober like a high-speed joyride in a police car? On Tuesday, Gray nearly rear-ended the Mason County Sheriff, Ryan Swalski, who had the audacity to pull him over and interrupt his fast and furious audition. Swalski, clearly unimpressed by Gray's uniform, handcuffs, and gun, noted the unmistakable aroma of a distillery wafting from the sheriff. Gray's brilliant defense, "I'm not that drunk." Truly a masterclass in legal argumentation. Too bad the Fireball whiskey bottle in his car and a blood alcohol level of 0.226, which is 3 times the legal limit, didn't get that memo. Anyway, the good sheriff has been charged with driving under the influence with aggravated circumstances, 2 counts of felony wanton endangerment, 3 counts of reckless driving, and 4 counts of official misconduct. Now, Gray's rap sheet is starting to look like a menu at a dive bar. Oh, and let's not forget his 2024 tractor flipping escapade, because why limit your chaos to just the cars? This is a man who diversifies his disasters. Now, Sheriff Swalski, sounding like the only adult in the room, declared that Gray's badge-tarnishing antics are unacceptable and called for his resignation. The Kentucky governor, Andy Beshear, and the general counsel's office echoed the sentiment, threatening to boot Grays for neglect of duty if he doesn't slink away voluntarily. With an arraignment set for next Monday, one can only hope that Gray's next performance is less drunk sheriff and maybe a little more former sheriff seeking help. But honestly, with this track record, don't hold your breath, ladies and gentlemen. Clearly, the good sheriff has an alcohol problem. He probably needs to get some help for that. And, law enforcement is held to a higher standard. You can't have the police driving drunk at 110 miles an hour with the lights and sirens going. Of course, we'll give them the presumption of innocence, like everybody we talk about on this show. And next on the docket, this day in legal history. October 9th, 1635. Yep, going back a little bit. Separatist Roger Williams was banished from the Massachusetts colony for preaching that civil government had no right to interfere in religious affairs. The audacity. This day, 1963, Freedom Day in Selma, Alabama, where over 300 Black Americans attempted to register to vote, facing arrest and violence, galvanizing the Voting Rights Act of 1965. Our quote of the day, "He who does not desire power is fit to hold it." Who said it? Show of hands. Plato. That's right. Remember, I keep telling you all this stuff is something new. Just like, the guy that you knew in law school that always wanted to be a judge and he was going to be anything to be a judge. Why does he want to be a judge? Right? I want the guy that doesn't want to be a judge. I want the guy that doesn't want to be in political office to be forced by his constituents to run for political office. All right? Because remember, he who does not desire power is fit to hold it. Be careful of those who want power, ladies and gentlemen. I got no problem with people wanting money. Be careful of people that want power. And next, our dumb criminal of the day. Oh, what a stellar example of educational excellence that we've got for you in Vermont. A substitute teacher, apparently channeling her inner canine enthusiast while utterly blitzed, mistook one of her innocent students for her precious pooch. That's right. The 47-year-old Melissa Martin, a brilliant display of judgment, is accused of smuggling cocaine right onto the grounds of the Bartown Middle and Elementary School. Naturally, the fiasco came to light when a sharp-eyed student flagged her bizarre antics to the staff. Miss Martin, ever the model of transparency, confessed to stashing the coke in her jacket pocket, conveniently left in the very classroom where she was teaching. And in a crowning touch of genius, she bolted from the room only to start calling a kid Teddy, who just coincidentally happens to be her dog's name. She was graciously cited for cocaine possession and reckless endangerment, because nothing says role model like endangering children with your personal vices. So that's all we have for you today, ladies and gentlemen. Miss Martin, you are our dumb criminal of the day. Congratulations, you made it. Hope you never teach as a substitute teacher again, but hopefully you get some help with that little cocaine issue. And before we go, ladies and gentlemen, it's that time again. The battle box has arrived. Now remember, this is not a paid promotion, although it probably should be. The box, as you can see, has not been opened, still sealed. So I have no idea what's in it. We're all going to find out together. Fortunately, I just happen to have a knife here on my desk, because you never know when you may need a K-bar to open up things. Paid promotion, I've been getting these battle boxes forever. Let's just say you never know what you're going to get. Every month is a surprise. So let's see here. We got the little book in case we don't know what's going on here, because we don't know. First one, let's see if this is it. It's a Blowfish air inflator and battery charger. That's nice. That's nice. You never know. Throw that in your car. Could save your life someday. I've only got like 3 of these, so even perfect. Next, what do we have here? This looks like the Battle Box Out Roll. It's a roll to grab and go your gear, built from heavy-duty ripstop with weather-resistant reinforced vinyl pockets. It laughs at dirt, dust, and mud. Yeah, look at that. Let's take a look at this. Let's open this up, because I'll never get it back in the same packaging. Let's check it out. Okay, waterproof. Look at this. Okay. Oh no, maybe that's not it. This is just the dry bag. You never can have enough dry bags. Check it if you go camping, you never, boom, look, put your stuff in there, fold it up, seal it up, stays dry. All right, this is the rollout here. Let's take a look at this. These waterproof bags, best thing. I remember being in the military, and you wake up in the morning out of 29 Palms, and you would have a scorpion in your boot. You learn quickly to put your boots in a dry bag so nothing got into those boots tonight. All right, so here's the bag, ladies and gentlemen. Look, this is like, oh, look at this. Oh my gosh. Wow, Frank, we could use this to put all kinds of cables and stuff in. This is too cool. I think I know what I'm going to do with that. We're going to put all those little cables and stuff, and when I travel, we can pack it up in one quick bag. Very cool. Look at that. Bam. Look at that. I love that. Let's see. What else do we got here? A Dango quick release tether. Keep it close, keep it secure, keep it quick. All right, well, got that. And then what is this? A tumbled titanium EOD robotics breaching bar. Pry, pound, pop, or punch through it. This bar's got you. Made from grade 5 titanium. It's half the weight of steel, corrosion proof, non-magnetic, and meaner than it looks. Lash it to a stick for extra leverage. Hammer it, chisel it, wood, or crack open a stubborn crate. No gimmicks, no fancy polish, just a solid, indestructible hunk to get it done. You know, I've said this oftentimes in my practice of law as I sit here at my desk. If only I had an EOD Robotics Inc. titanium thing. Look at it. It's like a big chisel. You can stick it in, and it's titanium. So look, it's strong, I guess, too. Oof. This thing about BattleBox. You always get something you never thought you needed until you got it. And then we got the little tether and weight. BattleBox wouldn't be complete if something sharp did not come in it. Oh, we already talked about the Blowfish air inflator battery charger. It's a cordless air inflation, turns roadside headaches into quick fixes. Set your PSI, hit the start, and let it work. How cool is that? Comes in a nice little self-contained little container box here. Just love this stuff. Not that I need any more stuff. I'm really trying to downsize some stuff, but when it comes to cars and things like that, it's always good to have have that stuff. Better to need it and not have it than to need it and not have it. You know what I'm trying to say. And then finally, another knife, because what would my BattleBox be without another knife? I think the other night I counted the drawer at home. I think we were up to 15 knives, and that doesn't even include the big ones. This is just a good old-fashioned folding knife here. Let's take a look at it. Yep. See, I guess we flip it like this. Ta-da! Look at that. And sharp as well. Just slices right through that. Add that to the drawer, I guess. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that's all we have for today. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time. And remember, the Constitution matters.